Now, as I'm sure you're aware, Mizuno is well renowned for its forged irons, but it's hoping to make a bit of a splash in the driver market in 2018 with the launch of the ST180 and the GT180 drivers. Now, as you can see, they're both very different offerings, catering for two different types of golfer. Now, we saw the JPX 900 model last year, which offered a whole host of adjustable sole weights on the bottom, and Mizuno have kind of taken that idea and really developed it and advanced it with this new GT180 model. You can see here it's still got two twin movable weights here. They're actually 7 grams this time compared to 8 grams on the previous driver, but actually there's a lot more scope to move these weights around. There's more settings that you can move these weights into to adjust things like launch, shot shape, spin, to really maximize distance and get the most out of your swing. The ST180, as you can see, is a little bit simpler. There's no adjustable sole weights on here. It's designed to offer low spin, high launch for a wide range of golfers to maximize their distance. Now, you can see on the bottom here, it's got this wave technology. We first saw that in Mizuno's fairway woods. And what that does is create more of a trampoline effect. It helps the face become a little bit more lively, a little bit more springy, and give you more distance. We've also got the waffle crown here, so some internal weight savings been made by Mizuno to lower the CG and help that spin come even lower to maximise distance. Both of these drivers have this new SP700 tie face, so what that has enabled Mizuno to do is improve the variable thickness of it, therefore make it hotter on a wider area. Essentially, you're not losing as much ball speed when you don't hit shots out of the middle of these drivers. So two very different offerings. Who are they aimed at? Well, the ST180 is more designed for golfers who aren't too worried about going really in depth with a custom fitting. They just want a driver they can get on with straight away. It's going to give good distance and forgiveness, whereas the GT180 driver is more for golfers who really want to eke out every extra yard they can get from their swing, really dive in deep with the spec of this driver, the shot shape, create a very specific trajectory to help them maximise distance and accuracy on a combination of both, depending on what they're looking for. Now, I've been giving both of these drivers a really good test both here on the range at Dom Pedro Victoria, but also collected some Foresight Sports GC Quad launch monitor data for both of these drivers and the JPX 900 to really see where the differences in performance lie, to see if I could get any extra distance out of these new models compared to the previous driver. First thing that strikes you about these drivers is the looks of them. You can see they've got this very signature Mizuno blue on here. I really like the look of these drivers. Both of them look very similar indeed, very stretched out from front to back. The new models have this kind of black strip here near the leading edge, and that actually helps alignment a bit, although it is a little bit reflective, so you might get a little bit of sun glare on that on those really hot sunny days. But other than that, I think you'll agree it's a fantastic looking driver. So what kind of numbers did we get from these drivers? Well, I actually tested both of these drivers in 8.5 degrees of loft. There's adjustable loft on here, plus or minus 2 degrees, so 4 degrees of adjustability with the loft here on the hosel, as well as 3 lie angle settings. You can get some upright lie angle settings there to give you a little bit more draw bias if you struggle with a miss to the right. I tested it in a new extra stiff shaft offering. This is a lower launching Tensei shaft, extra stiff, because I really liked the previous JPX 900 model, but I found like it launched the ball a little bit too high. So the fact that Mizuno have expanded their shaft offering in 2018, there's a wider range of models available. I think that's a really good thing for golfers. It's going to fit more golfers, are going to get maximum performance from these new models. And this Tensei extra shaft model really appealed to me and really gave me extra performance. So you can see here, carry distance across the board for the two new drivers and the previous JPX 900 driver was identical at 273 yards. But what I want to highlight to you is how the new offerings gave me a much stronger ball flight, whether that was down to the adjustability in the head, the new technology, as well as the wider shaft range offerings that are available. This new lower launching extra stiff shaft, you can see, gave me a stronger ball flight, a lower peak height by about 4 yards compared to the JPX 900, compared to the GT180 model, and lower spin as well by around 200 RPM, and that contributed to a longer total distance of about 4 yards. I mentioned how I felt like I hit the GT model better. You can see, looking at the efficiency with a smash factor at 1.46 was slightly better than the ST180 at 1.45, and actually if you look at the impact locations on the face, you can see They're much more central with the GT180 model. I definitely felt like it was a more solid, stable offering for me, gave me more forgiveness, although you can see I really didn't miss the center of the face all that much compared to the ST180, which I felt like I hit a little bit more towards the heel, or we're only talking fractions here. You can see it was still some fairly good hits on there. You'll notice I hit both of these drivers really well. I was surprised at how well I got on with the ST180. Obviously didn't really have a dive into any kind of custom fitting with this, just put this extra stiff shaft in and off I went, and got some really good performance straight away with it. The one thing I would say is that I actually missed left with both of these drivers, and with the GT180 you have got the option to add fade bias into this head. Now I tested this GT180 in its maximum distance setting, so with the two weights, I've actually moved them around since then, but I had the two weights right in the middle and right in the front. But as you can see, in this new position that I've got set up here, you can move one of those 7-gram weights into the toe, and that's going to add fade bias and straighten out my ball flight. So not only is it going to give me more total distance than the previous driver, it's also going to be a lot straighter because I've got that ability, wider ability to alter the shot shape while keeping the spin down because the weight is forward. So this model really is very, very comprehensive. There's no golfer, regardless of your swing speed, your strike pattern or your ability, that isn't going to benefit from the adjustability on offer in the GT180. You can really move those weights around to fine tune your ball flight, distance, forgiveness, all those sorts of things. But if you're not too worried about that, you can switch up to the ST180 model. I was really surprised at the excellent performance straight off the rack this gave me. One thing to note, the face on this driver is quite shallow, so you might find yourself needing to tee the ball down a little bit lower when you use these drivers, but it's just something to be aware of. Once you do that, you should experience some really good performance from this. The sound and feel is also really good. No question, the ST180 has a much louder, pingy sound to it compared to the GT180, which is more of a thud. And I do prefer the sound of the GT180 and the overall performance that it offers. Obviously, because it is an adjustable option, it is slightly more expensive, comes in at £449 compared to £399 for the ST180. The other thing you get with the GT180 is, of course, this face angle weight here, which you can adjust to open, closed or neutral depending on your preference, and that's independent of the loft setting that you choose. So if you like to see an open face, you can add loft or take loft off and still see an open face if you like to hit that draw. So that's another benefit of switching into the GT180. So there you have it, some really impressive performance from both of these two new Mizuno drivers, the ST180 and the GT180. And I think if you're choosing between the two, you need to have a think about which kind of golfer you are. Do you really want to dive in deep and pick a very specific trajectory for your drives? If that's you, then you want to opt for the GT180, there's no question about it. But if you kind of want a more simple offering, if you just want something you can take off the shelf, get the right loft and shaft for you, and get excellent performance straight away, the ST180 is a driver for you. Both of them are very forgiving, both of them very user-friendly, and you should get some really good performance out of both.